Since 2003, this is the Sports Source, East Tennessee's #1 sports talk show.
Presented by Junk Be Gone, Phoenix Conversions.
With your host, John Pennington. The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Sports Source. As always, I appreciate you tuning into our show on these Sundays. We've got a packed house and a packed show for you. The Vols, hang on, beat Florida in basketball yesterday. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the impact of this season on recruiting moving forward. The Volunteers are gearing up for spring practice. You got former Vols at the NFL Combine. You got Lady Vols baseball. Yes, we're going to talk about those a little bit later. We've got a lot of stuff. Let's get into it. First segment of our program brought to you by our friends at Junk Be Gone. If you're like me, spring cleaning is a true annual event. I tend to, every spring, I go through my house and I toss anything that I haven't picked up in the last year or two. It's like, okay, this thing is just junk at this point, so I get rid of it. Well, with that much junk, I need Junk Be Gone to come over. I always rent a 15-yard driveway dumpster. It makes the whole process so much easier. It's a great way to get your springtime going, and since we're here in March now, it's time to start thinking about it. Junk Be Gone, you can find them online, junkbegone.biz. All right, let me introduce the guys here, and as I do that, if you're wondering where the graphics are today, so am I. We're not going to have them, so it's one of those games where the headsets have gone out, so the coaches are going to have to adjust on the fly. But since we don't have graphics, I'll actually tell people where you're from. Josh Ward from WNML AM and FM. Where can people hear you? What time?
Yeah, 99.1, 12 to 3, Monday through Friday.
There you go. Mark Pankratz, of course, former Vol basketball coach, former Division I basketball player. And Mark, I'll let you tease your business. Where can folks reach you?
I've got a financial planning practice that keeps me busy throughout the week in addition to the girls, my girls at home.
There's a ticker on the bottom of the screen. You can catch it and call him. And Mike Strange right down there, who's been with our show, I don't know if you were in that first fall season, but you've been with us for at least 16, 17 years. And, of course, Hall of Fame sports writer here in the state of Tennessee. Appreciate you for being with us as well. Let's talk about the basketball team. Vols built a big lead over Florida yesterday. And then it started to slip away. And I think Florida was on a 23-6 run at one point. And I know everyone was sitting there thinking, gosh, 2 Saturdays in a row, you're going to blow us huge lead. But they didn't. They held on, mainly thanks to great performance by John Fulkerson yesterday. And Mike White, the coach at Florida, talked about him being the hardest playing guy in the SEC. He's just had a terrific season. And Josiah Jordan-James, who we talked about last week, you know, everybody thought the expectation should be here with a 5-star. The reality is he's kind of an average for a 5-star this year of all those guys that came in. He had a big day yesterday. So I'll let you guys start. Mike, Josh, I'll let you guys begin with your reaction to the game, and then we'll let Mark follow up. Thoughts?
Well, Rick Barnes picked the perfect time to finally run that Fulkerson 3-point shot from the top of the key that he's been saving all year.
Yeah, exactly.
So no, I thought they looked like they were just playing on fumes in the second half there. Your starters played from 34 to 40 minutes. I think your starters played, and they looked tired. And I think that's why Fulkerson might have missed those 1-and-1s. But lo and behold, they found a way to tough it out.
Yeah, I wondered going into the weekend, how much gas does Tennessee have left in the tank, considering all the minutes they've had to play and guys having to fight through different elements this season as well. I guess the answer was they had just enough. And credit to Tennessee for coming out with a good home crowd and playing well against a rival that you want to beat in Florida. Fulkerson leading the way that Rick Barnes has kind of challenged him to recently. Josiah Jordan-James, good for him to have that kind of performance because the ability's there. We've known that. So that's something maybe that I think to build on into the future for Tennessee basketball.
Yeah, you watched that Arkansas game earlier in the week. Arkansas is the more aggressive player, more aggressive team, had the best player on the floor. Took care of the basketball better than Tennessee did. Last night, that's what happened on Tennessee's end. We played harder. We were the more aggressive team. We got the ball inside, and we did a much better job of taking care of the basketball. Florida got back into that game when we started turning it over a little bit, but we played through Fulkerson. Guys got to the paint. We didn't jack up a bunch of three-pointers. Yes, the depth is a question mark, but that's been there all year. But Josiah James really stepped up, knocked down a couple threes, just looked more confident, more aggressive. The thing about it is when we go into those lulls, point guard play, the alpha dog that we've talked about, but even our defense. Our defense got us in that position because we were aggressive on ball screen defense. We were out getting into their ball handlers. We were really bothering Blackshear. Then all of a sudden we kind of started switching ball screens, and they got some mismatches to be able to get the ball posted up against our guards, and we were able to find a way because a large part because of John Fulkerson.
Yeah, so overall, I mean, we knew that before the season started, we put up the SEC basketball schedule and said, okay, for the second year in a row, it's backloaded to where it gets tougher toward the end. So that kind of skews the way you look at it. But is this team getting better, getting worse, or is it just kind of the same team? I mean, you'd like to look at a basketball team and think, okay, they're going to figure something out. Okay, this is our rotation. This is how. But I don't really get a feel for that. It's like you look at this guy, he's like off the bench for 20 minutes this night, and then the next night he plays 2 minutes. I'm not sure that this team has really found anything to hang its hat on at this point. It's just going to continue to be, you got 2 games left this week, but it's just been this up and down roller coaster all year. I don't know that they've taken a step forward. I also don't know that they've taken a step backward, though the schedule may make it look that way because you're playing tougher teams. Is this team going in any direction, or is it just kind of flatlining?
Well, individually, I think Vescovi's gotten better, as you would expect, just because of the situation he came into. But I don't see a lot of change, to be honest with you, in the overall performance of the team. They're capable of playing really good stretches, but not capable a lot of times of playing 40 minutes of really good stretches. So I think they kind of are what they are.
Yeah.
I think they've gotten better from the standpoint of they are what they are on the defensive end, which is a really good basketball team on defense. Offensively, I think you've seen them try to create some identity of playing through the inside, playing through Fulkerson. Vescovi's gotten better at being the guy handling the basketball. And then individually, like you said, I think you've seen improvements. Vescovi, the biggest thing I noticed yesterday was defensively, not necessarily on the ball, but in his rotations off the ball. He's getting better. I think there's some individual play that is improved. But then to your point, there's the question marks, right, of where are the improvement from the bench guys. When you got no scoring from your bench yesterday, it leads you to believe, okay, yeah, you got some guys that are rising to the occasion, but as a program, where is the improvement?
Yeah, I think back to where Tennessee was that Wisconsin game where they didn't look good, and that's right before Vescovi arrives, right after Lamonte had gone out, and then Vescovi arrives for the LSU game. And Tennessee, it showed signs of, okay, it can do some things, but also lost by double digits, right? So Fulkerson, I think, is better at being more assertive to lead the way. I think that would be an example. The defense holding up this season, it's done better there than I would have expected. But we've also seen the last 8 days what Tennessee still needs with that class that's coming in and the development of certain players for them to be a much better team next year.
All right, when we come back, I want to take a look at offensive and defensive statistics for this team. The offensive struggles are hiding the fact that this is one of the better defensive teams Tennessee's had in the last 20 years. We'll look at these numbers, see if they tell us anything. Come on back on the Sports Source.
Hey, when you're away from home, catch us on Facebook Live, our YouTube channel, or on sportsource.tv.
Let's do it.
This is the Sports Source.